In the very first hour of a full-scale invasion, they organized a large-scale center where they weave nets, gather people, and hold events. Why are you silent? We are in such trouble. We are being shelled. There are bombs, aviation. My kids started bedwetting. There are even moments when missiles fly, something explodes, and I am sitting in the corridor and writing. I analyze myself and think, I'm crazy. But on the other hand, I understood that in this way I rise above all this.
Hello and welcome to Ukraine in Flames, a special project by Ukrainemediacenter and NGO Your Atlantic Course, and I'm your host, Matt Wickham. In this episode, we delve into how war affects the minds of book authors. If you want to learn more about this subject, please continue watching this video. And don't forget to press subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on any of our videos in the future. First up in this episode is Olena Pavlova, artist, writer and cultural project curator, creator of Comic Cats, Figs, and the author of the book The Skin of the Cities, says that libraries are where she finds strength, resilience, and cultural vitality. Even during the invasion, they served as hubs of activity led by what she refers to as inspiring librarians. Let's listen to more.
I say the library is my place of strength, because the mind is power. And this is one of the unique Ukrainian libraries where everything is raging, boiling, spinning. When last February I read the news about a volunteer center at the library, I didn't doubt for one moment that they have it. That is, these people are always engaged in different activities. In the very first hour of a full-scale invasion, they organized a large-scale center where they weave nets, gather people, and hold events. All librarians are very incredible people all over Ukraine. They inspire me a lot. Thanks to them, things work. Libraries are actually cultural hubs that exist in every city. They should be developed and provided with some more active things. People should go there and read books. These modern spaces are quite different from some musty library rooms that used to be in Soviet times. About the events in Lviv, it was called Night with Witches, an alchemical and poetry party. And this is one of several such poetry and charitable projects that I am doing now. I say that I have a creative agency, Wordplay. I come up with these events. We always include a charitable component in them. For example, we read poems and raised funds to buy a minesweeper. Our events appeal to people and contribute to the development of culture, even in wartime. Because, among other things, the purpose of the war is to shut our mouths, prevent us from creating our culture, holding exhibitions, so that we have bare walls in museums, that we don't exist culturally. I believe that we should be more actively involved in speaking, reading poetry, writing. One cannot say, now is not the time, because the war is waged precisely for this, for our voice, for the opportunity to speak, hear, be heard, and create.
In the tumultuous wake of the war, driven by innate compulsion to write, our next guest, Iryna Hovorukha, began writing a book on love, but found herself confronted by the abrupt intrusion of war. Moved by those harrowing accounts of those affected by the occupation, she embarked on a profound journey to capture the unfiltered experiences of individuals enduring immense suffering. Let's listen to more.
On the 24th, I got up in the morning to work on a book about love, and I heard a drone flying. It was the first time I'd heard it. I put off work, but you see, a true writer can't help writing. I don't know how it is possible not to work, because it is my breath of air. It's what inspires me, keeps me in this world, family and work. I don't have anything else like that. It took me about 10 days to pull myself together. We came to my parents, 60 kilometers from Kyiv. There were a lot of people with us. We all lived in the same house. Then suddenly, short calls and messages from people from the occupied territories began to come through. Chernihiv wasn't occupied, but it was shelled. And a woman wrote, "Why are you silent? We are in such trouble. We are being shelled. There are bombs, aviation. My kids started bedwetting." Then another message came. And then people began to get out of Bucha, Irpin and Hostomel and told us their stories. I understood that it was what I would talk about next, about what they had experienced. Because part of Ukraine had no idea, does not even suspect what occupation is. They don't know what it is like to live without water, without light, without heating, without food, without bread. First of all, I wanted to tell Europeans about it, of course. We translated this book into English and Polish. And then for the Ukrainians, who did not suffer, thank God, they did not suffer that misfortune. So I started collecting the material. For example, I take one area, Borodyanka, and I write on Facebook. And since I have a lot of subscribers, I write, "People, please, who wants to share?" And I get 50 letters. I call everyone, talk to everyone. And then I felt such terrible pain, such a concentration of pain, that words fail me to describe it. My books are always full of metaphors, I think. Imagine we go to a store for pomegranate juice concentrate. Can we drink it, the concentrate? No, we can't. We dilute it 1 to 5. And for me, when I talked to people, it was a concentrate of pain, eternal fear, various tough experiences, and they couldn't be diluted with anything. And it went on day after day. I start in the morning, switch on my phone, and stop in the evening. And again, 5-6 conversations on the phone, each 2.5 hours long. That's how I collected everything. I want to tell you honestly that there are no notes in this book, that it's just taken from the internet or someone told me. I heard it all with my own ears. I digested it all. I cried. There was no interview without tears. It's impossible to listen when a woman tells you how, for example, her kid was injured, and the injured kid spent 2 days in the basement, couldn't be taken to hospital, and the kid started seeing mirages, the temperature rose, the sepsis began. You can't listen to it with a smile, or eat an apple, or drink tea at this moment. Of course, it was all experienced, it was all transformed. And then it all ended with a psychiatrist, because no one can bear it. You know, like summer is a concentration of joy and happiness, the sea, berries, watermelons, and everything is so explosively sweet. War is such low vibrations, low, very heavy energy, and it's very difficult to be stressed 24/7 and for so long. That's why the book is hard to read. No one can read it within an evening, like my former novels. Just sit and read all night through. Reading, it must be dosed. You read a chapter and make a pause, a break. Otherwise, you can go crazy. It's a synthesis of everything. I'm sure that there must be plenty of such books. Do you know why? Because each author has their own style, their way of presenting the material. Each author has their own vision. There is no person who could comprehend the entire war and describe the events both in the West, in the East, in the South, and in the North. It's impossible. Therefore, if there are a lot of authors, some will describe accurately and in detail about Mariupol. Some will write about the villages around Mariupol. There are numerous stories about big cities, but very few about small villages that have suffered so much. For example, I managed to describe the village of Yahidne, where people were taken to a school basement and kept for almost 30 days, and where they slept on chairs all the time, 300 people. Many agreed to give an interview, to describe how they sat, how their feet swelled, how they couldn't fasten their boots, how they couldn't wash for 30 days. And babies were there too. The situation was very hard. And I managed to describe, for example, the village of Andriivka, not far from Kyiv, which also suffered a lot. And that's it. I can't say I ran out of time. I ran out of energy. Can you believe it? I wish each author undertook such work and described at least a neighboring village. For example, a woman from Stary Bykiv told me that the village had been under occupation for 33 days, and there had been very heavy battles. There lived an elderly woman of there who raised a boy by herself. She was from the Orenburg region, although she lived in Ukraine for a long time. So she went out every morning. All around the yard there were Russists, and she shouted, "Good morning, Ukraine," and no one shot her. No one raised a weapon against her. She had so much self-confidence, confidence in her rightness. And she always said to them, "Guys, are there any of my compatriots here? Tell me honestly, and I'll tell you what you have to do." She was such a strong woman. She told her grandson, "Sonny, don't be afraid when you are shelled. I'll tell you when to be afraid." And the child survived because his grandmother said it wasn't scary yet. I'll let you know when it's scary. Her story was not included in Plakhta, because when she told me about it, the book was already being prepared. That's why I covered very little territory, unfortunately. And if all the authors joined and described everything, we would have a very reliable, accurate picture of what was happening.
Yana Ivanitska, journalist, author of the new book, War Through the Eyes of a Kyivan, tells how authors with unique perspectives and styles are essential to accurately portray the diverse and overlook experiences of war across villages and regions, where individual narratives capture the intense suffering, documenting the realities of this conflict.
I didn't think it would be a book. I just kept a journal from the first day of this full-scale invasion, because it was kind of a therapeutic moment for me. I understood that we are all experiencing a shock, and that you can't take out what you're going through on loved ones, because they have their own similar experiences. As for the people abroad, even our immigrants, they still won't understand. They may sympathize, but it is impossible to explain them what is happening here. They will not 100% understand the situation. For example, the attack on Kyiv, when there were tanks and missiles. And that's why I decided to put it all on paper. There are even moments when missiles fly, something explodes, and I am sitting in the corridor and writing. I analyze myself and think, I'm crazy. But on the other hand, I understood that in this way I rise above all this, because it is very difficult to stay inside. How did the idea come to write this book? When it was the anniversary of our tragic date, the 24th of February 2023, I saw that many books began to be published. I think, why am I sitting around doing nothing? In fact, I have everything. I just need to retype and publish it. Besides, given that we are constantly being bombed, Kyiv is also being bombed. Anything can happen. Seriously, we're all in God's hands. You never know when a bomb might hit you. So I think, if the book already exists, it should be published.
You've been watching this special project by Ukrainemediacenter and NGO Yolanda Course, dedicated to the Russian-Ukrainian war, Ukraine in Flames. In the description under this video, you can find information on how you can help Ukraine fight Russian aggression. If you like our work and find it useful, please like and share this video. Slava Ukraini!